Diana Gabeldon, the author of Outlander, has finally chimed in on the season 7 finale, so let's talk about it. As always, this will have spoilers for the books and the show, so if you were looking to avoid those, please do keep on scrolling. So in the season 7 finale of Outlander, we had the big reveal, if you will, that Claire believes that their daughter, Jamie and Claire's daughter, Faith, from season 2, may have lived. And that is because at the end of the episode, we hear Fanny singing a song that Claire sang to Faith in the hospital in France. And we also learn that her mother's name was Faith. Now, this has obviously caused a lot of commotion over where this storyline will go in season 8, especially for book readers who have read a very different version of events in Go and Tell the Beast That I Am Gone, in which Claire and Jamie discuss Faith, but there's never really a thought that she could have lived. It's more Claire projecting her emotions about Faith, and there are a lot of coincidences that Fanny brings up with the two of them. So obviously, since the show is now truly deviating from the text, Diana Gabeldon, the author of the novels, has been receiving a lot of questions and commentary about this, because if Faith did live, that means that William is Jane's uncle and Faith would be his half-sister, and how could an unborn child learn this song that Claire sang? It just causes a lot of questions, and rightfully so. So Diana Gabeldon went on to her Facebook page, where she often writes about the show, her feedback, her input. She also drops a lot of passages from the upcoming book 10 and some of her smaller books that she's writing as well, to talk about the whole faith of it all. And a lot of this is kind of what I've been saying or thinking the last few days or a week since the finale aired, and that this is confirmation that the books and the show are now two separate stories. So in her post, we can read a few snippets that I've highlighted here. One being that Diana is a consultant for the show, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to listen to her or take her suggestions. One of the great examples she gives, and it's something I've also touched upon in my videos, is that people who have read the books pull out very specific details that show watchers wouldn't recognize. One of them being the Battle of Monmouth, and how in history it took place in the heat of summer, but obviously in the show it did not. And Diana points out what I think is quite obvious, is that the show can't base the whole episode highlighting the battle around the temperature that it is, because that doesn't directly affect the plot. And they have a shooting schedule that they have to adhere to. So shows have a lot of additional hurdles to overcome when they're shooting, and details like this often have to get overlooked because of practicality's sake, safety reasons, economic reasons, what have you. She also says that her and Matt Roberts, who is the showrunner, had a conversation sometime last year where they discussed multiple aspects of the story, parts of what she's writing in book 10, and she also mentions, she talks about Claire's parents, who in her point of view have died. They are dead. They are not going to be time travelers. She doesn't have anything written about them. Something she said over and over and over again is that she has no interest in writing about Claire's parents. But Matt did, and wanted to do a storyline about them in the prequel, and so she gave her blessing, even though she doesn't have anything written nor plans to write anything about them. This means that everything coming out in Blood of My Blood is not canon to the books, and is not drawing upon aspects of the books, upcoming or past books. So this is, again, where you need to separate the books from the show as a fan of Outlander. She also confirmed that she is writing a prequel book, but it will not have Claire's parents in it because, in her head, she's dead. Repeat, the books are the books and the show is the show. And at the end of her post, she says that this storyline that they are going to be moving forward with in season 8, depending on where they go, it could just be a shock and awe. It could actually be something they follow through on. But in the Outlander novels, Faith isn't and wasn't alive in that storyline. Now, for me personally, and I think a lot of book readers as well, this Faith storyline didn't really make sense to me, because I've read Go and Tell the Beast That I Am Gone, where Claire has a lot of the same, circumstances come up via Fanny, where she thinks, oh, maybe her faith is my faith. But it's always brought back down to earth by Jamie talking sense into Claire about how that just couldn't be possible. And if it was possible, there's a whole trickle-down effect of how that could have been, and I just think it really logically doesn't make sense for it to be true. But we know that the show has the liberty to take this storyline wherever it wants to. And in large part, I think that after the announcement of season 8 being greenlit, they had to rewrite the ending of season 7. And what was the lowest hanging fruit? Perhaps it was this storyline. What was the thing that could be the biggest bang for your buck? Perhaps it was this storyline. What was the thing that they could weave into the prequel series and make it more interesting and appealing for show watchers to tune in for? Maybe it was this storyline. I hopefully think that my videos do a good job of conveying that these two mediums in my brain are two separate stories at this point, and they have been for a long time. There's just simply no way that the show could take everything that's in the books and copy it exactly for a number of reasons, time being the most important one. And now that we're on this crunch of you have 8 seasons to finish a 10-book storyline plus novellas plus short stories, there's just no way that they can wrap it up in the same way that the books will, so I don't expect them to. But obviously, I'm someone who's read the books, so as a show watcher, I can imagine that this sparks a lot of commentary, and it has certainly in my comments, which I think is exciting and welcomed. That's the point of entertainment. We want to discuss it with people who also share the passion for it and love for it, and I can understand having a strong opinion one way or another, but at this point, none of us know where this is going, and that's the first time in a long time as a book reader that I'm in this position, and it's kind of fun for me. So if you're a fan of the show and you only watch the show, I think there's a lot of commentary about how you should read the books. I don't want anyone to think that you have to in order to enjoy the show, and I think this is even more confirmation of that, because the show is not going to be the books are not the show.